JT Crowley is Talking Books. On the show, you'll hear from emerging talent and seasoned veterans from around the world.
Hello, everyone. I'm JT Crowley, and I'm delighted to invite on my show today Hazel Thompson from Southampton area in the United Kingdom to talk about her children's book, The Bears of the Evergreen Forest. Basil and Brenda Go for a Stroll. Hazel got the idea of writing the book while visiting friends in Canada. Hazel is not only an author, but she also delivers training programs for the construction industry. And her beloved dog, Betty, accompanies her on most of her adventurous expeditions wherever she goes. So let's welcome Hazel onto the show to talk about her book, The Bears of the Evergreen Forest. Hazel, come and join me on the show. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Hazel, I've thoroughly enjoyed looking at the book. Yes, it's a little short book for kids. The illustrations are wonderful, and the storyline is just cute.
Yeah.
So that's what you want in a book like this.
Thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely. So Hazel, in our preliminary chit chats, you mentioned that the idea of the book came about from a visit to Canada. Would you care to elaborate here? Where in Canada? Because I'm intrigued, actually. Whereabouts in Canada? And why did you choose bears as the main theme to the storyline?
Yeah, so I went to visit some friends in Nova Scotia, in Halifax, and we were just sort of out and about. They were taking me around looking at places, and we went for a walk through some wooded area, and suddenly the trees parted and there was this lovely lake, and we sat there for a little while and sort of watched the world go by, and I don't know, it just sort of came to me, and when I got back to their house, I just sort of picked up my notebook and started writing. I don't know why bears, just seemed like they fitted, I suppose. They fit in a wood. So it seemed logical, really. Yeah.
And of course, Canada does have bears.
Yes, yeah. And I had to look up what type of bear, actually. So when I was talking to the publishing house about the pictures and what I wanted them to look like, I sort of had to look and see what type of bears they had and what I wanted my bears to look like. That sort of looked like Canadian bears.
So what sort of bears are they?
Well, they're a bit of a mixture of a few bears, to be honest with you. Yeah, they're a bit of a mixture. So I don't think they're described as one particular type of bear. So
there you go, everyone. How did you formalize the, you've touched on this already a little bit just then, the wonderful illustrations, which to me are so vivid, they're bright, they're fun, they're cheerful, they're definitely eye-catching. How did you work these lovely, when I look at them on my iPad here, everybody, I love the illustration of Basil the bear. He's sitting against a tree. You've got the fish in the lake and the birds in the branches. How did this illustration, how did they come about? How did you form them? Tell us.
Well, I had them in my head, what I wanted each of the pictures, or it's sort of like comes up as like a little film in my head as I'm reading the story through, or reading what I'd originally written, and I was sort of imagining it in my head. So when it came to telling the team how to do it and what I wanted in the pictures, I really tried to describe as much information as I could about what I could see in my head about that, that particular scene. And when you do it, you have to say what's in the background, what's in the foreground. You have to describe the characters, what they're doing, what they're wearing, what they look like. So you have to go into quite a bit of detail about it. And the pictures that came back from them, for the most part, were absolutely spot on. And I only had to change a few things.
And they're wonderful. I love the you've got the illustration here of we're in Brenda's bedroom here, and it's of Basil and Brenda, and Brenda's got some little letters and she's tidying her room up. It's just wonderful, everybody.
Yeah.
And the colour.
Well, I thought about my bedroom and how much of a mess it is.
That's why the clothes are on the floor, everybody.
Everything, yeah.
When you wrote the book, Hazel, who did you have in mind as your market? Was it old? Was it going to be young children, or so you decided to opt for that, or did you have any chance of saying, "I'll go for"?
I don't really know. I mean, I wrote this book ages. Sorry, I wrote this book ages ago, and I didn't really write it to publish it at the time. But as I was getting a bit older and I was thinking, right, well, I need to think about publishing this, I was thinking about young children maybe reading it themselves, or maybe sitting down with a parent and reading it with a parent support, or having a little child be read to them by a parent or a grandparent. So yeah, it was I sort of had the picture in my head about the age group, but it took me a while to really work out exactly who would be reading this.
I love the adventures of the two mice, Pip and Pip and Tara,
yeah.
are on the lake. I think it's wonderful, and I'm looking at this now, and they're on the lake. Why these two characters who, in stark contrast, in every aspect, to Basil and Brenda. Basil and Brenda are big bears, and then you've got these tiny mice.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there on the lake in a water lily, having fun. Where do the two mice come from? Just
trying to think of characters that might be sort of in that environment, and thinking about who Basil and Brenda might come across every day, and just really, I just had an idea of, two little mice, and everything went from there. So I don't know, these things just pop in my head randomly.
I mean, it's lovely. I mean, you've got the two mice, they're on the lake there. You've got, Tara, she's in a bright yellow dress, sitting in the pink lily. And then you've got Pip, who's been thrown out of the lily. It's just wonderful. And I love the colour of the bird, Polly. Wonderful, bright red and pink. It's absolutely wonderful. As says everybody, the colours in this book are simply amazing. So when you come to Hazel, thinking about the characters, do you have a formula in your head? I do. For me, it's like the age of the character, the gender of the character. What does the character wear? Do they have a smartphone? What are their friends called? Do they have any family? Do they have any? I have 13 points that I use to create my characters. Do you have any formula that you work on to build and create your characters?
When I wrote this, no, definitely not. I was very new to this sort of thing, and I didn't have, I hadn't even thought about background for a character, and who their family might be, and for an older one, what they do for a living, or any of that sort of thing. So it was just, does this character seem right with the storyline? Yeah, it seems right with the storyline, and they're just there. But I've learned about that since, and I've done some short courses, and I've learned about building characters. And if it wasn't a little children's book, then that would be necessary, I think.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Do you have fun creating the characters? As you write the book, do the characters, are they real to you? Are they, they walk around with you? They're saying, "Hey, I'm still here. You need to write another story about me."
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And because that's what my characters do. They keep, nodding me, saying, "Come on, we need to do the next bit here. Get on with it."
Yeah.
I mean, as a child, I'm just curious here. Who did you love to read? I mean, for me, it was Enid Blyton. It was C.S. Lewis, and I just simply loved J.R. Tolkien, The Lord of the Rings. Who was you?
Yes, I didn't find out about Tolkien until much later, but C.S. Lewis definitely. I read some of those books, but Enid Blyton, I read Enid Blyton so much when I was a kid, and I would pick up a book and read it again and again if I liked it. I can't really think of. There's no one else that really stands out for me, but I do remember, lots of famous 5 books.
Adventurous 7.
Oh, and then Secret 7, as well. Secret 7, yeah. I think my sister liked Secret 7 and I liked Famous 5.
Famous 5.
Between us, I think we must have had the whole collection.
But did they...
Well, the whole collection at the time.
Sure. I mean, but did they in any way give you a structure to write this book? Did they have an influence on you at all? Was that why did you go for kids' books?
I don't know, because it was so seriously out of the blue. I'd written some stories when I was in school for my English projects, but they weren't kid stories. I don't remember much about them now, but they were for like slightly older, so closer to Enid Blyton age, if you like. And I don't know, this is like the generation below that, so the really young kids. So it was a bit out of the blue that this idea came to me. So yeah, I don't know where it came from.
I love this picture here in the book. You've got the picture of Basil and Brenda strolling through the woods, and they're coming into the village, everybody. And you've got, Mr. Badger there. You've got the owl at the post office shop. You've got the squirrel at the tea shop, and you've got another bear at the cake shop. And then there's the pointing out to the forest. It's just simply, magical. The illustrations that go, everybody, with these readings is just wonderful. Kids are going to love this. 1 to 4 year olds are just simply going to be going, oh, wow. And I think even the big kids are going to go, ah, I did. Do you have any plans, to write any more books? I think you should.
Well, I have actually written some other adventures for Basil and Brenda. Oddly enough, after I wrote the first one, my friends who I was staying with said, oh, you need to write them doing this, and you need to write them doing this, and you need to write them doing that. So I picked a couple of those, and then I wrote another couple. And then when I got home, I wrote another, I think it was another 3. So I think in total, I've got 6 of these little stories in a little notebook. I mean, the notebook's about, I don't know, tiny little A6 size notebook that I wrote them in originally. And when I started to look at this, I sort of picked up the notebook and I thought, right, which of these do I want? Well, let's start at the beginning. And I haven't done anything with the other 5, and they're just still sat in that little notebook till I decide what to do with them. So
I think you should, because these are great stories. You know, let's hope, everybody, that she does do another book and that I get the chance to talk to her about it. Because these, it just follows on from these adorable, magical book here, everybody. And let's hope she's going to write some more for us, everybody. Hazel, where can people get your book from?
So you can get it from Amazon. You can get it from the Author House website. You can get it from my website, which is hazelthompsonauthor.co.uk. And I think that's about. I mean, there might be other places where you can get it, but those are the ones I know about.
Because, you know, and I've got to come before I finish here, everybody, to the last illustration. And it says, they fell asleep under the Evergreen Forest starry night sky. And the picture is of Basil and Brenda, everybody, on a rock. And then you've got Pip and Tara, the 2 mice, sat by their side. And you've got the wonderful, the bear's house there with the red door and the window above the red door in the tree, and the night sky with all the stars in it. It is, it's magical, everyone. It really is. So, Hazel Thompson, thank you for coming on the show and sharing some of the experiences you encountered along the way to bring this cute, captivating and enchanting book for 1 to 4-year-olds, so that their grandparents, parents can read these stories to them at bedtime, and for maybe some 4-year-olds be quite capable of reading a page a night themselves. But the illustrations that go with the storylines are simply magical, and I think kids are just going to, of the 1 to 4-year-old age range, are just going to simply love these books. And it just leaves me to say, Hazel Thompson, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you about your book. It's wonderful. And I simply say to everybody, go and give Hazel Thompson a read, everybody. They are wonderful, wonderful, colourful, bright storybook. Hazel Thompson, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm JT Crowley. Thanks for listening, watching, wherever you are in the world. So until next time, stay safe.